Long ago in Sweden there lived an evil wizard, and they say he had a black castle high in the mountains, with great gardens all around, and filling the gardens were statues of young women. They were so lifelike you would swear they were real people, but they all had looks of fear and terror on their faces. Well, of course, those statues were not statues at all, but young women the wizard had stolen away, because he thought it was fun. Every day, he would take his great black cloak and wrap it around himself and say a magic word, and wings would sprout from the cloak, and he'd fly off over the land looking for another maiden he could capture. If he could get a young maiden to step on his cloak, even by accident, then the cloak would wrap around and catch her, and carry the both of them back to his castle, where he could do what he would will. One day as he was flying around, he saw a maiden working in a field. He thought, that's the woman I'll catch today. She had blonde hair past her shoulders, a sparkle in her eye, and the wizard thought, she can't be too smart. He flew down and landed a ways away. He walked up toward the field, and as he saw the young woman walking down the path, he took off his cloak and said, "Young woman, this path is far too muddy for you to dirty your dainty feet. Here, let me put down my cloak," and he set it down in her path. She walked right around it. She said, "My feet aren't dainty. I walk this path every day, and you're a fool for putting your beautiful cloak on the ground." But, young woman, I'm terribly sorry. I was trying to help you." "I don't need your help," she said. "I do this work every day." Now the wizard was stuck. He wasn't sure what to do, but he saw in the field next to where the path led, there were some sheep. And so he cast a spell, poof, and the ram got angry. The ram came charging out of the field, broke through the fence, and charged right at the young woman. The wizard thought, she'll come running to me for safety. But that's not what she did. She ran behind a tree, knowing full well the best way to avoid a ram who's angry is get behind a tree. The wizard, he ran up to her too, hoping that he could get her to step on his cloak. But as she saw him coming with his cloak, she turned and went the other way. The ram, bam, hit the wizard and the cloak, tearing it with his horns. The wizard did another spell and poof, the ram disappeared. He stomped and fumed about the tear in his beautiful cloak. But the young girl, her name was Elsa, said, "I can help with that." And taking a needle from a thorn bush, she made a sewing needle. And taking a few strands of her hair, she sewed up the tear. "There you go. Now your cloak is as good as new," she said, and turned to leave. But the wizard, he had other ideas. He said, wait a minute. Your stitches here, they're far too sloppy. Look!" And he held up the cloak for her to see. She stepped closer to get a better look, and the wizard took a bit of the cloak and set it on the ground, and Elsa stepped right on the cloak. It wrapped around her and the wizard and began lifting them into the air. But those stitches that Elsa had put in, well, they caught on a branch. "Ah," said the wizard, "stuck." And as he was holding on to Elsa with one arm and the cloak with the other, he couldn't get those stitches loose, so he let go of Elsa. She pushed and slid down out of the cloak and out of the tree and down to the ground and ran all the way home. The wizard yanked those stitches out of the tree and flew off. When he got back to his castle, he was in such an angry mood that he stomped and pounded all over the castle, throwing dishes and plates everywhere he went. The servants were so frightened, they went down to their chambers and didn't come out. There was no reasoning with the wizard when he was this angry. That night, Elsa told her parents about her encounter with the wizard, and they told her what they had heard of that terrible man. that the only way he can capture you is if you step in his cloak. So long as she doesn't do that, she's perfectly safe. The next night, the wizard, he couldn't sleep. For every time he closed his eyes, a great glow would appear in his room. He looked far and wide, there was no full moon. And then he saw his cloak there. The stitches that Elsa had left, her hair, was glowing so brightly. He couldn't get any sleep. So he took the cloak and he wrapped it up tightly, with the stitches on the inside, but that didn't help. It unfolded. He tried a spell to turn the cloak inside out, but it stayed right there, impervious to his enchantment. Then he took the cloak and went down to his deepest dungeon, and threw it down there and locked it in the cell and ran up the stairs. But before he got there, the castle was once again lighted by Elsa's magic. The next day, the wizard put on the cloak and flew down. By the time he got to Elsa's house and knocked on the window, it was already evening. It took him quite a while to find her home, after all. Young woman, it's me, the wizard. Could you please come to your window? And she said, no, I'm perfectly happy sitting here in the chair. What do you want, wizard? Well, my good lady, it appears that the stitches that you so kindly sewed into my cloak here, they seem to be lighting up in the evening, and I'm having great difficulty sleeping. Could you please take the stitches out? She got up and walked to the window and said, I've heard all about you, wizard. I've heard that you capture girls and turn them to stone in your gardens, or worse. I won't be helping you. And if you want to get rid of those stitches, you got to find your own way of doing it. The wizard, in a huff, flew back to his castle. He thought, ha! This woman thinks that I'm some little charlatan to toy with. I know what I'll do. I'll turn one of these girls I've captured back into flesh and bone again. Let her run back to the village and tell all the people how frightening I am. Then she'll know who she's dealing with, he said. And sure enough, he found the oldest statue in his gardens and turned it back into a young woman again. She ran home telling everyone what had happened to her. The next day, right about dark, the wizard came back to Elsa's house and said, young woman, did you see that young woman that I sent back? Yes, I saw her, said Elsa. And did she tell you how frightening I am? Because I am a powerful wizard, after all. Yes, she did. And did you sleep well last night? The wizard thought for just a moment, and sure enough, he had almost forgotten. He had slept perfectly well. There was no light from the stitches. Now you know what you must do, and how powerful I am. And try as he might, the wizard couldn't remove the stitches from his cloak. But if he wanted to sleep every night, he had to release one more young woman, until they were all gone. And after that, those stitches that Elsa had put in his cloak, they stayed just a soft light glowing from them. Just a reminder to the wizard that if he ever goes wrong and tries to hurt someone else, he won't sleep again. And that's the end of the story.